Hello, hello, Ederson Oliveira here. This is the third DNN Summit talk, and I have the first one with four guests right now. Very good to have Mark Harle, Don Gingold, TK, Sheppard, and Johnny Gregory as well. Welcome, guys. Let me get started with Johnny. Let's start with you, Johnny. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit of what you are up to before we get to your sessions.
Sure. I am the client partner here with Fortuitous. Most of you guys have known me for a number of years now in the DNN space, and just glad to be sticking around here. We're having a lot of fun at Fortuitous, and I'm looking forward to my second DNN Summit this year, or actually next year. So.
Actually, we met, face to face. Last one, we had a good interaction there. You had some great things to talk about there. Let me get a little bit to your session here, Johnny. Tips and tricks building a successful lead generation machine. Let me ask you this: what is a sales funnel?
So a sales funnel is essentially what a salesperson or a sales team would work off of to make calls and really just generate business for the company that they're working for. And so what the purpose of lead generation is to actually build that sales funnel.
Which, if we stop to think about that, and I deal a lot with small businesses, and it sounds to me, based on conversations, discussions, that the number one challenge of business in general is getting more clients. And the first thing about getting clients is getting the top of the funnel filled up, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's a number of different ways that you can actually build not even just new clients, but just new business in general. And so in my discussion, there's a lot of things that I talk about as far as how to build that funnel, because there's a number of different areas that you can actually get sales from. And one of the easiest ways to do that is from your existing client base. And so really it's generating new business through new leads, but a new lead could actually come from somebody that you already know. And those are generally really the best ways that you can build your business, is from people that know you and love you.
So your session will be more geared towards lead generation tactics, or the ins and outs of hooking this up with DNN?
A little of both. So it's going to be mostly related to tactics on how to build and increase your sales funnel. But it's also some really cool things that you can do with DNN in combination with some marketing automation as well. So it's going to be really cool.
Got it. Come back to you in a second. Let me jump to TK. TK Sheppard. Can you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Sure. I work here at Envisionative. I've worked here for almost 2 years. I came in doing mostly WordPress stuff to start, but jumped into DNN because that's what we do here. And was immediately thrust into doing theming for DNN. And that's when I developed Envy Quick Theme to help myself build out custom themes very quickly. And I went to DNN Summit last year. I'm looking forward to, or this year, I guess. Looking forward to going this next year.
Awesome. We met last time, and again, we had some good interaction there. Let me ask you this. I see someone behind you, and I like to ask, how is it working with David Poindexter as a boss? Is he bossy?
Is he bossy? I mean, no more than usual, I guess. It was definitely, most of you know David Poindexter in the DNN community. He's a big player there. Has put forth a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I was kind of thrust into the DNN community like that, especially when I came up with Envy Quick Theme. And so I'm not one for the spotlight generally. I like to, stay in the shadows and do my thing, but he kind of pushes me out of my comfort zone there sometimes.
See, that's what a good manager, good, boss, tries to bring the best out of people that work with them. Let's go a little bit closer here to your sessions. Just out of in your sessions, you have two sessions, and they, in a way, they complement each other, you know. So, can you give me a walkthrough? And I asked this to another designer, you know, that will have the full day training. I asked him, Anthony, how was his from start to finish workflow of design or design workflow and implementation. So can you give me a walkthrough, briefly overview of start to finish your design process, turning that design into a production theme?
Absolutely. Obviously, the first thing we do is speak with our client. We go through a design brief where we talk about, you know, various things, what they're looking for their website to accomplish, specific functionalities that they need and that sort of thing. From there, we come up with a design mock-up and go through maybe an iteration or so of that until we come up with something that they like, the look and feel of. We go for that, and beyond that, we start building it out. We develop at that point. We go through the theme development process. There's a Q&A in there, obviously, and there's generally another line of revisions beyond that when we sit down and the client gets to look at their live site and they pick out things that they, you know, maybe didn't translate well in the mock-up or the design, and they decided they wanted something slightly different. And so then we go through an iteration of that and come up with a good product that our client loves and it's functional and works well for them.
So just want to touch a little bit, and out of my own curiosity here, I remember interacting with designers in the past, but not recently. Is it still the tool set Photoshop, slice and dice, get it done as HTML, or is it different now?
I personally use Adobe Illustrator.
Okay.
The vector formatting and stuff is really easy to come up with designs quick, much more than Photoshop used to be. There's still plenty that use Photoshop, and that's great. There's also a lot more products out there coming to fruition. Stuff like Sketch and InDesign. I don't remember what they're all called because I don't use them right now. But there's some really exciting things coming up in that aspect where straight from the design functionality to code, it will output the CSS for you and that sort of thing. And I've been looking forward to seeing that come to fruition more because as we can incorporate that into the greater front-end technologies like SaaS and things, that could be really powerful. We could really pump out themes super fast.
Awesome. That makes a lot of sense. And again, thank you for clarifying that. Again, but I also love, I mean, I'm not a designer by no means, but I love Adobe Illustrator. I love the vector side. And again, I'm not a Photoshop guy. I'm really an Adobe Illustrator guy. About one of your sessions, theming with structured content. Here's what was a bit blurry to me. In my view, structured content is yet just another module that will be plugged into pages, you know? So why bringing theming and structured content together? Why is that?
It's because typically when you're developing a theme, a lot of times you start with a framework, and those frameworks are very powerful, and you reference those classes a lot of times within your content itself. I mean, so you'll have a section and you'll be an HTML module and you'll be throwing in class names there all over the place. Well, this fits right into structured content beautifully because it provides you an option to iterate those things over and over again really easily without copying and pasting the same code over and over again. And I realize the theming and content stuff is usually separate, but in this case, it's very nice to be able to iterate theme parts over and over again within your content.
Okay, that clarifies, that makes sense. I'll go back to you in a second. Let me move on to my friend, Don Gingold. How are you, Don?
I'm doing good, Anderson. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you very much. And if I may ask, I mean, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, certainly. Don Gingold, Sprocket Websites. Been doing DNN sites. In fact, we're celebrating 10 years. Jim and I, his wife and he had a web development company. My wife and I had a web development company. We met at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, decided to do a couple of projects together. We liked working together, so we decided to merge our companies together. We've been at it ever since. Our Sprocket is about 8 years old, and we worked a couple of years prior to that. So we've been building DNN sites together for the last 10 years. We've built a lot of them. We've seen a lot of growth from version 3 through 9, so seeing a lot of that stuff there. But of course, all the way through that, and then the 20, going back a while, the 20 years prior to that, building websites out of just pure HTML or some of the very, very early CMS kind of things, tools that are out there. It was always the case that clients would say, well, that's great. It's a nice looking website, but nobody is seeing it. How do I get more traffic to the site? And then, of course, social media over the last 5 or so years has come to fore, and people are online looking just to see what their friends and family are doing, and they're along that path are seeing all kinds of advertisement in various forms. And so we grew in our side of the business where we do social media management, driving people to the websites by putting up posts and engaging people on social media, and then referring them over to websites and showing them that. So we've been at that for quite a while as well.
Okay, so this is a similar topic as you have presented in the last DNN Summit.
Yes, they asked me to come back and give the same topic, the same talk again, but it's changed quite a bit with the crazy Russian collusion stuff. Facebook changing their patterns, their privacy settings. A lot of posts that used to get put in front of a whole bunch of people are no longer getting put in front of a bunch of people. And that all happened over this past year. And so what does one do? Can you still get in front of all these people? And I'll be talking about that during the summit. Yes, there are ways of doing that. And then, of course, with the fact that you're spending a lot of time putting posts on these various platforms that you don't own, it's always better to start at your own place, your own DNN website, keeping that information there and then sharing it from there out onto the platforms. You then know that you have it, and then you're able to show everybody out on the platforms. If it disappears one day, you won't lose it.
So let's talk about that sharing side of things and what is effective, what is not effective. First of all, your session, at least it seems to me, more geared not necessarily to the ones that to the audience that wants to be posting out there, but more so, here is how a web development company, or however they want to call themselves, here's how you can offer that to your clients. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Awesome.
For both. I mean, we focus a tremendous amount of time at our summits on developing skins, developing modules, interacting. We have module presentations, talking about the core stuff, all of those things, focusing on the website. But we all could take an advantage of getting out in front of a whole bunch more audience to drive people to the websites that we build. So that's one of the reasons to come to this to the talk that I'm giving, is that if you're building websites and you are hearing from your clients, but who's seeing them, you can offer some help there. And the nice thing about that is that I'm going to show you how you tie the DNN modules that you use to social media to save yourself some time. So if you're charging by the post, for instance, you can cut the amount of time that you spend on developing that content and share it to a whole bunch of different people by taking advantage of just one-time setup kind of things and letting the modules do the work after that.
So are you talking about social media from a paid ad standpoint or from a, hey, I have this account, I'm just gonna post there? Which way is it done?
Well, let's take a simple example. Facebook. Most everyone is on Facebook or has been on Facebook, and they've seen all these ads from companies. And then also they've seen posts from people. A post can be boosted. And so you pay a little money on top of what you've already put out there to expand the reach of that post elsewhere. So you can still keep working in the content publishing side of things, putting content from your website, sending it therefore out onto the various platforms. And then once it's out on the platforms, a simple step after that would be to use the Facebook tools to boost that content so that it then gets spread out even further. So you still want to start with original content, not starting with creating an ad.
Got it. You see, your talk and me asking you questions here is very useful for me personally because I'm giving a hand to a local friend of mine who has a web development company, and he's starting to offer social media management. And he was wondering, okay, when I close my first client, what is it that I'm gonna do for them? And I'm gonna ask you some tactics here, and I'm gonna give you a very concrete example.
Okay.
My friend has a client right now. He is a home inspector, and it might be his first social media engagement there. So, home inspector, we all know more or less what a home inspector does. Of course, not the ins and outs, but the overall. He doesn't have a following. He only has, the basic Facebook profile with friends and families and family members. Where do we start there, Don?
Got it. First of all, you always want to start with a base website that tells about you. That is your calling card. That is your home base. That's where you can have all of your contact information. That's where you can tell your story and have all of that there. Doesn't have to be a lot, but you need to start there. Home inspection is actually a rather visual profession. And we all have heard of those horror stories of the rotting wood in the attic, or the nest of raccoons, or the hot water heater with the pipes that are about to burst any second. He could be, while he's taking those pictures, he could be building a huge Instagram following of fun or interesting or very scary home inspection horror stories. So that's one angle right there. And then, of course, just your how to do it right kind of things shows his expertise, says that you see how this plumbing configuration is here, that in this house I'm inspecting, this is not the way to do it, or this is the perfect way to do it. Show a picture, and then you build your expertise by showing examples. And it's age old. People want to know what you do. Give them a sample of what you do.
Got it. Okay. So I think that I know how you're gonna answer that, but I'm gonna ask this. He'll come back to you and say, but I don't have time to do those things. I don't have time to write those posts or to post those posts on social media. I need to do my work. What now?
Hire me. No, you certainly, there are social media managers all around. And so I would say, yes, first of all, Instagram, very simple. Everyone's carrying their smartphones around these days. You're taking those pictures, select a couple of the pictures, click share, and then put it on your Instagram post. If you don't know how to do that, find somebody that can help you one time create that Instagram account for yourself. Then post it. Then have that helper. It could be a college student. It could be a social media management company in your community, and have them build upon that. Add some comments to it. Take that Instagram post and make sure that it's spread around on other places, on other platforms. And so you could be the subject matter expert. You can generate the original content, and then your helpers will get, like my helpers back here, you get your helpers to help you get that message spread out.
Good. Johnny, by the way, I mean, you're more in the marketing side as well, so don't be shy. I mean, you can ask Don questions as well, okay? Anyway.
Well, one thing that I would add to that too is that video is huge these days, and for people that are outside of our profession, where they are a plumber or a home inspector or anything like that, if they don't like writing content, video is actually content as well. So if like for Don's example, he could just take a 30-second video of him at said home that has something broken on it and say, hey, this is crazy. This is not the way that you need to do it. Click post, and boom, you have content without even writing anything.
Awesome. I'll get back to you, Don, in a second, but I'm gonna jump to Mark. Mark, Harle, how are you doing? Introduce yourself, please.
Sure, thank you. So I'm Mark Harle, optengage.com. I've been, I guess you could summarize my career, say, for the last 25 years or so, broadly around the notion of knowledge management and how organizations manage the information that their employees and salespeople need for that company or organization to succeed. A good example of that is one of the first type of engagements in that area was probably 20 years ago with a company that was setting up a call center for their HR people, primarily focused on employee benefits. Large company with probably 200 different locations around the U.S., probably 15,000 employees, and a need to do a better job of communicating the benefit plans, getting the people enrolled, et cetera. There's probably, I think, 60 people or so in the call center. It was a pretty large operation. And so this was before the days really of, any real World Wide Web or anything like that. So it was all network-based, but we put together a very good online repository of the knowledge that those agents, representatives needed to communicate the benefit programs, answer questions, instruct people in what to do. And, the need for that hasn't changed, right? The technology has changed. We now have the internet. We now have all sorts of other, social, et cetera. But there's still a very strong need for organizations to do a better job of managing their knowledge and content and communicating that to their internal users, whether they're CSRs or sales agents or whatever. Going down the road then, I got involved with DNN probably 10 years ago, and I think it was on version 4, if I remember, and used that as the platform to stand up a number of internal sites like that, as well as a number of external sites, and really saw the power of DNN. And so now I'm focusing on harnessing all of that and adding some structure and some functionality to the DNN platform that allows an organization to use it very effectively as their internal knowledge base. Call it an intranet, call it a part of your digital transformation. But at the end of the day, it serves as a very, very effective, cost-effective, and operationally effective way to deliver that type of knowledge and content out to the organization's employees.
Got it. Okay, so we're gonna be using here intranets and digital workspaces more or less intertwined, and you may have opinions on that, Mark, and you can express them. But I'll be using one or the other. Most likely, I'll be using intranets quite a lot. Let me mention this. I just about 2 months ago, I've started to do some teaching in a college, And as part of being a teacher there, a professor there, I also joined their digital workspace or their intranets. Let me tell you, I mean, it's good that nobody from that college is listening to me because it looks like a Frankenstein. It's all full of a little piece here, a little piece there, and you click here and you go to another completely different interface. Do intranets need to be Frankensteins?
Well, they shouldn't be, and that's what we don't do, right? We don't Frankenstein it like that. So a lot of it relates to the earlier discussion on structured content. Structured content and structured theming. So if you think about an organization and all of their knowledge or content is highly structured, right? You have information about products, your services, your markets, your audiences, the software applications that you use, your financial procedures, how you onboard a client, all of these things. The point is, there may be a lot of fluff and a lot of disjointed stuff, but there really is a high structure to that. So when you digitize that structure and essentially model out that organization, and then apply, like was talked earlier, structured theming to it so that the UI is highly consistent, across all of the aspects of that content, whether you're looking at a product guide or somebody's profile or a discussion forum for members of a HR team, for example, it all looks the same. So it all looks the same to the end user, but just as importantly, it gets updated and administered the same way by the content providers. And that's kind of a legacy issue with DNN in the sense that because of the nature of the open source product with a lot of different module providers and things, that's very, very powerful to plug those in, but they don't always have the same interface, or they generally don't have the same interface. More so that, you can control that on the external side, by the CSS and the themes. But when you then get into administering the content, all of those pages look different, and that can drive people crazy, because managing the intranet is not their job, right? Their job is something else. All we're doing here is saying, as part of your job, we're giving you tools to share your knowledge throughout the organization. So if we give them a bunch of mismatched screens and pages and processes and workflows, that doesn't work, right? And that's frankly one of the reasons why a lot of intranets fail and result in the experience that you just related.
Okay, so you didn't mention too much about that, but I want to ask you about your product, about OptEngage. First of all, I remember when I first saw the product, one of the things that I've mentioned quite a lot was the fact that it was very consistent. It had a it has a unique way that it would look like. It was not at all like a Frankenstein. You could see the consistency in look and feel throughout. By the way, we're not doing an advertisement piece for your product, but I think it ties well together because it's built on DNN, and that's what your talk is all about. So can you tell us a little bit of where you are with OptEngage at this point?
Sure. It's a new product to the market. We've been through beta testing and implementation, and we're at the process now just of taking it to market. Really focusing on two audiences: organizations that already have an investment in DNN, maybe for their public site or for a Frankenstein intranet, and want to improve that, either upgrade or replace their existing DNN hosted intranet, or if they're just using DNN, say for some public sites, but have a need for better internal management of the knowledge. That's a very easy implementation then, because number one, there's no new application to onboard or due diligence. It's already hosted, whether it's on premise or through a provider. So it's just, and the people already know how it works, how the security models work, et cetera, et cetera. So there's we're not adding anything new technically to the organization, but allowing them to essentially expand how they're using the platform. So that's one go-to-market approach. The other is to offer it up as a pure cloud service for a company that really doesn't care about DNN or anything else. They just want to have a good intranet. Well, we can do that just through a hosted service.
Awesome, very good. So next round here, I'd like to go around. See, DNN Summit is a lot more than just technical sessions and marketing sessions and sessions over sessions. It's a lot more than that. It's also about the community, the experiences, the interactions, and that's what I would like to explore in our next round here. I think that all of you guys have been on at least one previous DNN Summit, and I would like to see if anyone out there has a story. It might be funny, it might be emotional, it might be awkward, it might be, I don't know, something that you recall and a smile comes to your face when you recall that story that you have been through. It might have been a one-on-one interaction with someone. But I would like to go around and see if there are any stories that you can share with us here, starting from you, Johnny.
Yeah, so I mean, being in the community for as long as I've had, I think it's almost 10 years now. And there's a couple of instances that come to mind. This will date me a little bit in the DNN space, but back in, I think, 2009, 2010, when Dev Connection was around and DNN was there in Vegas and we were doing those conventions. At the time I was with Power DNN, and Jason LaShawn from Blue Bolt actually taught me how to play craps. So that was a fun thing. And then another instance was, winning that Xbox One at DNN Con. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Talking about past events, I don't know if you guys have noticed, and you may not have, but I have here the DNN Com Palm Beach t-shirt. This might have been 2013, 14, something like that, or yeah, around that time. So I'm trying to come to those interviews with a different t-shirt from a previous event every time around. So great one, Johnny. Thank you very much for that. TK, you have gone through one so far. Anything comes to mind from that event that you'd like to share with us?
Being in the Charlotte area, we know Ryan and Dustin Moore, and they developed the lightsabers for that event, and seeing those get made, and I knew beforehand what was going to go on with those. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. Enjoyed all the sessions. I enjoyed meeting different members of the community. One of the fun things from it, most people probably wouldn't consider fun, is me and David were there together, and so we got a room together, got a suite there, and I actually ended up sleeping on the couch the entire time because David snores terribly.
Okay, you know what? I may have to ask David if I can go live with that. I may have to cut that out, but let's see. Let's keep it around.
He gave me permission to say that.
Awesome.
He's good with it.
Awesome one. Snoring and the lightsaber is a big hit on every single DNN Summit. Don, how about your story?
Oh, geez. Well, first of all, I thought people said that what happens in DNN Summit stays in DNN. I didn't know I had to say these things. We've been doing, Jim and I and 2 or 3 other folks put on Day of DNN in Chicago back in 2010. So that was where we started. That's the first event that I was involved in, and then several back. When we, DNN World, do you remember the superhero theme of DNN World? We had some fun with it. Hang on. Sprocketeer and Techman attended as well. And we had a whole series of blog articles that these guys wrote, quote unquote, that they wrote. They're still on our website, sprocketwebsites.com. You could find the adventures of Sprocketeer and Techman. So that was a lot of fun. We were clowning around, and we'd set them up in weird places so that they were kind of spying on the events of DNN World. And that, of course, was down at Disney. So that was then in Florida, which was great. When we were in Baltimore, Spiffy gave those nice scarves out with their Spiffy name on it, logo on it. And a funny story, and I was leaving, I decided to drive to Baltimore because I had a stop about halfway through between Chicago and Baltimore after the summit with a client. So I said, well, I'll just drive there. When I'm on my way back, the heater in my car broke. And of course, being so darn, it's middle of winter, it was very cold. And I wrote a blog article the next day that Spiffy saved my life. So that was fun. Last year we took, I was on a committee, the DNN Awareness Committee, where we're trying to get the word out about the community and whatnot. So I arranged to have a group photo taken. And so right after lunch one day, we all sat there, and we all, the hotel folks were very kind. They found a ladder someplace, and then the hotel director or whatever got up on the top of the ladder and took the picture of us. And it's a very nice big wide picture. It's on our website, and I'm sure it's been circling around quite a bit. So there's a lot of camaraderie in the group, and I know TK I'm looking forward to meet, but I know Johnny and I know Mark and I know a lot of other folks. It's been good to know the people in the community. To suggest, Johnny has recommended us to some the people when he was working with a hosting company. We still work with those people. We still help them out. And Mark and I are talking about presenting the intranet solution to a couple of our clients. So it's good. It's good to be part of a community.
It is. And again, I cannot tell how much I like, doing things like this, talking to you guys, people that I know, and new people as well. I mean, new people are always welcome too. By the way,
and of course, Anderson and I, we both work together and help. And then back down in the Carolinas there by you guys, you mentioned Ryan. Ryan and I are working on a few projects together. So again, good to have these connections. You make a lot more connections. It's not just going to a seminar and learning a little bit. A lot of that stuff you can Google or figure it out yourself, but really it helps when you get together with a group of people and you interact with them.
By the way, I'm not in that photo group shoot. I don't know what I was doing. I may have gone to my room for some reason, but I cannot forgive myself for not being in that group shoot, that group photo,
We'll have to Photoshop you in.
Well, that's a good one.
Do it again. That probably is even better. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. That's fine.
We could just make him the Aderson on the shelf.
I like that.
On Don's
shoulder.
Good. Mark, I saw you last summit. I don't know how frequently you have come to those events, but again, tell us, how frequent have you come?
So went last year in Denver, the year before that in Denver. Don mentioned the Orlando meeting several years ago. I've been there. And also Don mentioned Baltimore. I had totally forgotten about that. I was there, but it was the worst trip of my life because I had my knee replaced probably a month before that. And I said, oh, shoot, I can do this. So it was a mistake. I mean, it was terrible. I couldn't get around and I missed most of the sessions because of that. So hopefully I won't have to go through that again anyway, but really excited about Denver because I found probably the best cigar bar in Denver, just a couple blocks away from the hotel. So an open invitation, anybody wants to go with me to this great local Denver cigar bar, let me know.
Awesome. So is the knee replacement problem there your story, your DNN Summit story?
No, we'll limit that to the good cigar bar in Denver.
Okay, that's that one. I'm gonna keep with that one. Great,
okay.
Great. Guys, I'm just gonna go one more time around, but this time I'm just gonna go for one thing that you want people to take away from your session. In your case, TK, you have 2 sessions, so I'm gonna ask you that twice. So again, let's see what is it, the one thing, that each one of you want people to get out of your session. Johnny, and your session is, again, tips and tricks, building a successful lead generation machine. What is the one thing?
Well, I would love to have people maybe just apply one of the tips that I'll talk about and apply it to their business and see how it works. And, hear the stories of success and see if they've been able to just get anything out of the session. A lot of the things that I talk about, I do right now for Fortuitous. So I'd be more than happy to discuss with anybody about anything related to that session. So.
Awesome. Jump to TK. TK, your first session, custom DNN theme from start to finish. What is the one thing?
The one thing I want people to take from that is I want them to realize that developing a custom theme in DNN doesn't need to be difficult or time consuming.
Good one. Very good. And the second one, theming with structured content.
This one's a little more difficult to come up with one thing on. Basically, I would like them to understand how they can take what they know about theming and stuff, and as well as some knowledge on structured content, and make their website customizable, all while keeping the look and feel intact.
Got it. Awesome. Don, how to tell your client's story using social media in 2019?
The key thing had been, or has been, and let's just start there. It has been that make sure that you start and focus on your website and then spread the knowledge from the website. But, we were just talking about this and I made the suggestion about Instagram and Johnny suggested the video. And that led me to another thought that I think I'm going to emphasize stronger at the upcoming one. Remember, you had mentioned how this is important to have DNN developers coming to this session, learning that they can expand their business. We have to make sure that we make it easy for the clients, the content owners, to put their content on their website so that we can then spread it out to the rest of social media platforms. And especially when, Johnny mentioned video, it's not trivial to put a video clip on your website. There are ways of doing it. And maybe I'll point out a few of those ways to make it so that just to remind everybody that it can be done. It is fairly easy to do. And it needs to be easy so that they will then in turn do it, so that we have content that we can then help spread around the social media platforms.
Awesome, awesome. And last but not least, we have Mark with using DNN as a platform for your digital workplace transformation.
So the main point I want to try to get across is that if you're an organization and you're already using DNN, you're 90% of the way towards having a very good, high quality knowledge management platform or intranet. It's not something to be scared of, or we've all heard the horror stories and the Frankensteins that have come out, but it doesn't have to be that way. So if you have DNN, if you use DNN, like I say, you're 90% of the way there. And then during my session, I'll start to lay out the roadmap and how to get from that to 100%.
Perfect. Before we say our goodbyes, is there anyone that would like to add anything that was not said, that you'd like to get the message across, anything else?
I just wanted to say again real quick, DNN Summit, we were talking about the good aspects of it, and I just wanted to point out again how friendly everyone is there and how helpful they are. You can go around and talk to anybody about anything and not have to worry about being looked down upon or anything like that. Everyone is super friendly and super helpful there.
Look at TK, you're supposed to be shy, TK, and you're here, wrapping things up nicely.
Well, if I may put on my host hat, Aderson, what is your favorite memory?
What is my favorite what?
Memory from past.
Memory. Okay, so you put me on the spot, isn't it? It's not completely ready for it, but I can tell you one. And to me, it was funny. Let me see if I may edit this just to get my thoughts together. But last summit, a group of us went out for dinner in this Japanese place, and when we were walking on the street, we saw a sign, someone asking for money, but he's saying I don't remember exactly what was there written, but he was saying, I want money for booze and I think that, Colorado, Denver, what is, so I think that it was something like that, saying that. Again, it was fun, and I actually was the only one stopping and giving the guy money, and we all got a good laugh out of it,
At least he was honest. That's what he was going to use the money for.
He was honest, yes. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for, putting your host hat there. Very good one. I have now 5 clips to put together. Guys, thank you very much for your time. Again, it's a pleasure be talking to the DNN peeps, to my DNN friends, and hope to see you all there, even though I'll not be there, but I hope to see you all there. I hope you enjoy the event, and I'll see you all guys soon. Thank you. Bye.